Ooh, that looks tasty. Welcome folks, today the Hungry Gamer is back with another review, and today we are talking about Tales from the Red Dragon Inn. Now, I'm not holding up a box right now because I've already sent it away, but Slugfest Games was kind enough to let me hold on to the only advanced copy, production copy, I don't know how it works, but the only actual copy that exists of the game for just a little bit. They had, I guess, one sent out, airlifted so they can take it to trade shows and all that stuff. And there happened to be enough time in between when I was talking to them, doing a stream for Red Dragon Inn 9, and now, that they could let me hold on to it, and then I sent it back to them. And what I did was I played through the first 4 scenarios, which is the entire first chapter. And so that got me through the tutorial, a couple of missions, and then a boss fight as well, which gave me a pretty good idea of what's going on, a lot of story, etc., etc. I played all of the different characters and kind of experienced pretty much everything there is to experience. There will be more things introduced as you go on through the game, but I feel confident that I can give you a good review of my thoughts on this game right now, and this is probably when I would do a review anyway if I was playing through after the first big chunk was done. And currently you can still pre-order the game on BackerKit, and eventually it will be available in retail. And I shouldn't say that. It's possible that the Kickstarter version is not available, but you can pre-order the retail version. I don't know. There will be a link down in the description so you can get the game in some way, shape, or form. Now, with that being said, what you're seeing up here is just the playthrough that I also have on the channel. You can check that playthrough out. I'll note that it's not a how to play. It's literally just a playthrough of the third scenario, so there are some spoilers in there. Anyhow, this is a dungeon crawl game in the Red Dragon Inn universe using those Red Dragon Inn characters that if you've played Red Dragon Inn or Battle for Greyport, you are already familiar with. And along with it, there is a decently in-depth story that goes along with each of the different chapters, a good chunk of story you get before each one to kind of tell you what you're doing and a wrap up and so on. And sometimes some little interludes in the middle. And the amount of story you're getting is a bit more than what you get in like a Wanderer Cult of Barnacle Bay, but not nearly so much as what you're getting in like a Madara or something like that. So just on the heavier side of story, but not the woo so much story level. In any event, this is a lighter dungeon crawl. And what I mean by that is you have different abilities, but you're limited to 3 different abilities and a couple of items each time. You'll be able to choose different abilities, a la Gloomhaven. You pick different cards as you level up, you get more options available to you. And these cards will either have a set number of charges, so you can use it X number of times and it's done, or they will have a cooldown on them. So you use it and you'll be every round taking off a cooldown token, or maybe another one if you use your actions that way. On your turn, you're going to have a total of 3 actions. You'll have 2 actions, which can be, maybe it'll be a movement, maybe it's a move and attack, maybe it's one of your abilities, which might make you jump around, or whatever. Some combination of moving, attacking, healing, shielding, weakening, backstabbing, doing stunts. And then a shenanigan. And a shenanigan are abilities that different characters have. Some have more than others, which is... it's a shenanigan. It's just something. It might be it reduces a cooldown. It might be it puts out an illusion. It might be it moves you a little bit. In some way, shape, or form, that's what you're going to get to do. And the bulk of the game, as with any dungeon crawler, is going to be done with combat. And combat is done with dice. Each of the abilities that you have will allow you to roll a set number of yellow dice. The dice in this game will always do at least 1 damage. And you might have bonuses, you might roll more dice. There are exploding dice, exploding crits, so if you roll that, you do a damage, and then you roll the die again. Nothing that's breaking the mold there. What is somewhat unique is they have the thing called epic dice. And the way those work is if you roll a certain symbol on the die, a little exclamation mark, and you roll more exclamation marks on your attack than there are epic dice already in the pool, you get to add one to the pool. And that pool is a shared resource. Anybody can use that die. When they roll, when you use it, you lose it. And that is a particularly strong die. It's going to do a 2 or 3 damage. It might even be a 4 damage. I think it's 2, 3, or crit, 1 damage, and then reroll. I think. I can't remember. Or you can use it to mitigate damage that people are taking. And that's kind of the core of it. What's going to be going on is as you enter each room, you'll be putting out certain bad guys. And on the side of the board, it has the AIs for those bad guys. And on the side of the board, it'll have the AI. And at the beginning of each round, you're going to roll some dice. It's called the scheme dice. And that's going to tell you what each of those bad guys is going to do. So you're going to know going into the turn what the bad guys are going to do. Then you're going to draw out of a bag. initiative tokens. And if you draw it the gray, all the gray monsters are going to go. If you draw it a character, the character's going to go. When all that's done, you rinse and repeat, you start over. But you've been going through opening up doors or knocking down walls, as the case may be, and trying to kill bad guys or accomplish an objective or whatever it may be. Same thing when you get to a boss fight, though of course the boss fight's a bit harder, they have more powerful abilities, and they have at least the one boss I fought had multiple phases. It has a first form and a final form that you're kind of dealing with. And all that is pretty much standard dungeon crawl tropes. So, what do I like about this game? And I'm going to start with the thing that I love most about Red Dragon Inn is not the gameplay. I mean, I do like the gameplay, but in general, I don't like take that. But what I love about it is the characters are exceedingly well developed and exceedingly silly and fun and wacky. And that comes through in the game. It comes through in the cards, it comes through in the abilities, it comes through in the items, and it really comes through in the story. Because that's the next thing I'm going to say, is the story is really good. It is a very well written, very engaging story. It's, again, as I mentioned earlier, it's not a super in-depth story like a Madara, but it is a story, and it's good. It is interesting, I like it, it's funny, it's creative, it's clever. So that is a huge plus for me. The next thing that I particularly like is the dice play. I really like that you always will do 1 damage. Every die you do, you're gonna do a damage, period. So you don't have any of that, here's my big attack, and oh, I got nothing. That's really, really good. Also, I like the epic dice. I like the way that works because there's times where you feel frustrated because, oh my gosh, I have to punch a wall. I got 2 actions, I gotta punch a wall, and I'm wasting 1. Well, you roll that die, and maybe you get another epic die, and that feels good. The dice play in general feels good. There's very few times like, oh, that was a bummer of a turn. You almost always feel like you're really doing something interesting with your quick turns. So I do like that a whole bunch. I also really like that you know what the bad guys are going to do. The AI is right there. You know what's going to happen. You don't know exactly when they're coming out of the bag, but you can start counting chips and have an idea. And so I think that really works well as well. Just right there, boom, done. Speaking of that, I like the maps. Each of the maps for each of the levels is a pre-printed page, not paper, it's, I don't know, like poster paper, I don't know what it is, but it's a long folded thing, and each side has a different level on it, and the AI is already there, so it makes the setup very fast. As for a dungeon crawler, the setup on this is exceedingly fast, and that is fantastic. Next thing I like is the characters. I think they are true to how they have been portrayed in Red Dragon Inn. I love that, but they play exceedingly differently, and they are all very powerful. Usually, I think, oh, I don't want to play the healer, and Deirdre, the priestess, the healer, is really powerful. Like, she was running around, doing some healing, throwing up shields, and wailing on people, and that was fantastic, while at the same time, Gog the ogre is running around, leaping all over the place, doing, stage dives on top of a bunch of things, smashing them, beating on them, taking damage. They all are very, very, very different, and all of them are just as fun as the others. Fantastic, perfectly done as far as the character differentiation, I think. The way that the characters grow, as you go through the story, you unlock cards from the vault, which might be new abilities, it might be new items, etc. That works very well. And then the last thing that I'm going to say is, and I alluded to this with the different maps, what they've done is they have minis for the characters, which are great. There's also some, if you back the Kickstarter, there's some extra deluxe minis that you can get. But, those are good too, but everyone has minis for the characters. And then it's standees. And what particularly works in this for me is not that they have that, but each time you come up against the standees, they are different. Every single time you come, at least as I've seen, I came up against slimes multiple times, and each time I came up against them, they had different abilities. They had different health. They were just different kinds of slimes. Same standee, makes sense, but different abilities, which kept it really fresh and keeps the box size relatively small. It's not a small box, but it's relatively small. So you can tell that it's, not really small because my voice got really high like that. But it's no Gloomhaven box. And so with all of that, quick setup, the art's great on the standees, the minis look good, all of that, just a really good production. I really like that. So what are my quibbles with the game? First one, I think some people are gonna get maybe stuck on a little bit, is the maps. There's a little ridge in the middle where it folds. It doesn't bother me. Honest to goodness, it does not bother me whatsoever, but I know there are some of you that it's going to bother. Don't know what to tell you. I think it's well worth it to not be sitting there setting up tiles or even flipping through a book or it's just so easy. It looks so good. It's a great size. I think it's great, but it's got a little bump in there. It might be something that's there. I think there's going to be some people that are going to wish they had more dice. Again, we didn't particularly have a problem with that. We felt like there was enough because you're usually, at least early in the game, you're using 2 dice and maybe some epic dice that you're passing around anyway. We didn't have a problem with it. We played 3 players several times, and again, it worked. But I can see some people say, "Oh, I wish I had more dice." The only component thing that I wish I had more of, and I didn't use them that much, but when we wanted to use them, I wanted to use them. It has some action and shenanigan markers that you can use to say, "Oh, I've used an action," just as you're tracking. But it has 1 set. And the idea is that you kind of pass them around to whoever's going. You pass them the chip bag, and they're going to draw the next chip and those little tokens. I wish there was another set of those. But that is mostly it. Everything else I'm going to say here are things I'm going to throw out there just to kind of help you narrow down if this is a type of dungeon crawler for you. I think it's a very silly game. The story is very silly, and I think it's silly in the best way possible, but it is the ultimate tongue-in-cheek dungeon crawl. Truly, truly, it's got wackiness and silliness. You're doing silly, it's just a whole bunch of wacky, silly things as you're going through that are happening and abilities that are going on. And I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm not going to give any details away, but lots of silliness is going on. And so if you're coming out of Oathsworn, if you're coming out of Perdition's Mouth or something like that, it's super dark and gritty, that's what you're looking for, you're not going to find it here. The next thing I'll say is the game is not hyper tactical. What I mean by that is that you're not dealing with facing. You're not even really dealing with line of sight. I mean, I guess there's a little bit here and there, but the idea is it's a very silly world. Like, yeah, you shoot a fireball. Sure, it can curve. Like, whatever. And that might not be looking for. It's not. The tactics come from choosing to use the abilities at the right time, hitting the target at the right time, planning out where the bad guys are going to go based on the AI, not based on positioning necessarily, not based on backstabbing, not based on attacks of opportunity. You don't get any of that. This is a lighter dungeon crawl. But really, that's about all I can come up with, because honestly, I think this is fantastic. Just fantastic. And I was pretty high on it when I demoed it on Tabletop Simulator back during the campaign, but honestly, it is one of the best dungeon crawls I've ever played. Now, sure, it might fall off the cliff going further on. Definitely possible. But I've played a good chunk of it, and I'm really enjoying it. I really liked it. I really wanted to jump in, sit down, and play more, and experience more, and try all the characters. And to me, I think in the world of a lighter dungeon crawl, and I do separate kind of lighter dungeon crawls and heavier dungeon crawls and heavier adventure games. Like, I don't usually compare Wander the Cult of Barnacle Bay or Mice and Mystics with Oathsworn. They're different beasts to me. But in the world of the lighter dungeon crawl, this is definitely top 2, top 3, without question for me. And where it will shake out for me personally when I redo my top 10 dungeon crawls this summer, I don't know, but it's definitely on there. And I'm not going to make any predictions, but it's fantastic. Truly, this is right now one of my favorite dungeon crawls that I have, and I have a lot. And then the only other thing that I'll say that might stick in somebody's craw is if you're a big fan of Red Dragon and you're thinking, well, where are the other 48 characters? I know when I was playing with my wife, the first couple scenarios, she said, "Oh, I can see playing this forever. Because think of all the characters." So, well, I mean, all the characters aren't there yet. And she's like, "Oh." So there's only 6 characters right now, but that does mean potential for tons of expansions. I don't know. And for me, this is one that I'm really going to be looking forward to, whatever they release in the future, whatever kind of expansions they release. I could see them releasing just map packs, extra stories. I'm sure that doesn't sell very well, but just extra stories that go with it. And just releasing new characters with, little card sets that you can add. And it's the sky's the limit. They can, of course, I'm sure it's just going to be a bunch of big boxes they put out, but I can hope. Just be able to add extra characters, I think, would just be fantastic. Or extra short side quests or whole stories. And you can incorporate all of them, because there's so many fantastic characters that are in this game already. And so I've been kind of waxing poetical here, or actually not waxing. I don't know what it is if you're waxing not poetically, But whatever it is I've been doing for a while, and obviously I'm saying I think this is a fantastic game. But I think if you like whimsical, lighter dungeon crawls, that this is immediately going to the top of your list, or it should go to the top of your list. Obviously, if you're looking for the next Gloomhaven, the next Oathsworn, the next Madara, well, this isn't going to be it, and you're not going to be satisfied if you're looking for something that heavy. But if you're looking for fun, story, dice chucking, unique characters, fun combat, fast setup, this is your game. So, there you have it, folks. As always, if you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.